Greetings everyone and welcome back to yet again another video. Today we're going to be having a look at something that I bought off eBay. Now in the past I actually have briefly worked with Blackview. I'd done a little bit of an advertisement thing for them for an upcoming sale quite a while ago on a video that really didn't get a lot of views. And then we were in contact and they were going to send out another phone, and then they said that they couldn't, and then they said that they could, and then I've emailed them and I haven't heard anything. So I'm still waiting around. But in the meantime, I found this on eBay for $30 Australian. And I thought that's too good to be true. There's no way that this is gonna happen. This is a BV5500 Pro. They retail for about 110 US or something like that. This is $30 Australian, which is like $22 US. In the description for this phone, it says, "This is a return of the buyer. We have not conducted any testing. It may be a fully functional mobile phone or a defective mobile phone. This is shipped randomly and does not support self-pickup." I think they mean pickup from their store or whatever. So I thought, I'll take a chance. $30. Why not? Let's see what happens. I bought it, and probably about half an hour later they messaged me and they said, sorry, we can't send it to you. And I was like, oh damn. Oh well, doesn't matter. And then probably about 5 minutes later they sent me a tracking number. And I messaged them back and I said, you've sent me a tracking, am I gonna? And they said, yeah, we've sent it out. So I patiently waited a couple of days and I received the package. Now at this point in time I've already done the unboxing, and let me tell you, it's legit. I bought a Blackview BV5500 Pro for $30 Australian, and it works fine, as far as I can tell. But Blackview is known for their very rugged devices, and that's always something that's interested me, having a look at their rugged phones and, you know, testing them out and all that sort of thing. So that is what my main goal of this video is to do a main review on it, as well as a durability test, you know, throwing it, dumping it in water, doing a whole bunch of things. So that is what I plan on doing. Currently on Blackview's website, it is out of stock at the moment, and that is where I got the $110 price tag from, and that's in US as well. But a quick rundown of the specs of the device. It is IP68 and IP69 certified. It has a MediaTek MT6739V system on chip. The display is a 5.5-inch IPS LCD, which has an 18:9 aspect ratio, and that has a resolution of 720x1440. It has 3 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of storage. It has dual rear 8-megapixel cameras, as well as a 5-megapixel front camera, a 4400 mAh battery, NFC and a gyroscope, Android 9.0, GPS, Wi-Fi, GLONASS. I've never heard of GLONASS. I don't actually know what that is, to be fairly honest. And it comes in black, green, and yellow. And in terms of network support, here is the bands listed for the device just here. Not all it's supported for 4G, and as it says on Blackview's website, this phone can only work in Europe and Asia area. Please pay attention before purchasing. And accordingly, it's not supposed to work on Telstra here in Australia, but I've tested it on Telstra and it works fine. Now, I will include a link to the one I purchased on eBay, so you can go and see it for yourself to make sure that I'm not telling any lies. I did spend $30 on this. I will also put a link to Blackview's website or wherever I can find it currently available, but depending on where you go to look at it, there's different pictures on every single one. So I'll just showcase a few here. So the first one here shows that the phone is comparable to a car, maybe because of the design, I think. But yeah, there's a car speeding away and there's the phone there. We can see a guy just there riding his bike with the main specifications listed. We've got the power efficient system on chip, which is the MT6739. Now it does say 32 gig expansion. I will quickly say that it does not support 32 gig microSD cards. I have tried 2 of them and both of them say unsupported. I have no idea if that is actually my device being faulty, which it could be, but that's just my experience. It could be different for you. It is born to be tough, built to withstand drops, dust, vibration, and even temperature extremes. As I said, depending on where you look, you'll actually find 3 GIFs of the phone being dropped in water, being dropped downstairs, or having dirt thrown on top of it, which I think is honestly quite nifty to see. We've got the 4400 mAh battery here, which says it has a standby of 480 hours. Now, I have tested that, and unfortunately, it's not quite close to that. Just take note that this item was sold to me as maybe being faulty. I'll get into that a little bit later on. It's got a speedy facial unlock, fast, convenient, and accurate. We will test that as well. Guarantee the quality with the number of tests. It's had the headphone plug 10,000 times. The rear camera has had 50,000 times twist test. I don't even know what that means. TF SIM card, 200,000 times button test. USB, 200,000 times button test. Front camera, 5,000 times micro drop test. I don't know what any of that means, but I'm pretty sure they've tested it and it's fine. The next picture shows a guy riding a dirt bike in some dirt, and there's a lot of dirt. It is a rugged phone built to last, with more of the specs listed. The full screen new experience stimulates the senses across all your everyday mobile phone experiences. Okay, fair enough. It has Gorilla Glass. I'm not too sure what version it is though, but probably Gorilla Glass 3, maybe 4. There is also a video that Blackview has made. I will link it down in the description. Go watch it and see what you think of it. I mean, I basically could have just shown that video instead of listing off all the specifications, and you could have just watched that and went, oh, okay, I know what's going on. But I thought it'd be easier if I just explained it all, and then you can go watch it if you want to. But basically, it just showcases the device, the ruggedness that it has, the specs, a couple of shots of it being thrown around and hit with a hammer and all that sort of thing. So, of course, we're going to be doing all that. Alright, with all that being said and done, let's get to the unboxing and my first impressions, and then there'll be a bit of a time jump, and then we'll continue on. Alright, so with a couple of days for shipping, I have this here. Did I get a fully functional working Blackview BV5500 Pro? I'm going to say that a billion times during this video. Who really knows? Let's go ahead and crack it open and see what I've got. Because I honestly have no clue what this gamble is. There's a Blackview box in there. Alrighty. I just do this. That's, oh shit, okay. Alright, so here it is here, Blackview. There's actually some bricks on there. Alright, all looks nice. But on the back we have Blackview, all the stuff there. There's an electronic energy meter just there too. Android Pie, 5.5 inch, 720p display, 4400 mAh battery, the CPU, dual cameras, 3 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of storage. Well, here we go, first Blackview device on this channel. Are you going to work? Okay, you've been peeled off before. Alrighty. Well, that's the phone there. That's a bit of a chunky boy, but that's supposed to be a chunky boy though. Oh, there's another one on there. That's been used. Yeah, because this is a customer return. SIM tool. We do have an instruction manual in about 20 different languages. That's fine. It is a micro USB cable. The charging brick is missing, but we do have some knockoff looking Apple earpod, what are they called? Earpods, I think they're called earpods. That's what they're called, aren't they? Earpods. Well, they're knockoffs of them. But they've got just a button there, but that's okay. Alright. That's all we really need to know, to be fairly honest. Sucks that I didn't get an AC adapter, but for 30 bucks I'm not really going to complain. Alrighty, so we'll peel off this first. There we go. Oh, there's already a, okay. There's already a screen protector on it. There we go. It's factory now. So around the phone, we have the TF and SIM card just there. At the bottom we have the USB port, which is just covered under this little trap door looking thing there. That's fine for the water resistance. Oh, we're going to be testing out that if it does work. If it doesn't work, we can just test it out anyways. This cover doesn't really close. And there's a bird outside yelling at me. Volume button and power on that side too. At the top, we do have a headphone jack. Much appreciated headphone jack just there. That's going to tuck that in there. And this SIM card, let's have a look at this SIM card slot actually. Oh, okay, so then it comes out like that, and then you just pop it out. So we'll do that. Alright, so we've got support for dual nano SIMs or a nano SIM and a micro SD card, so that's all good. At the top of the unit, we've got our dual rear cameras, our LED flash, got this rubber coated back panel, which means it's grippy and stuff. We've got, you know, waterproof, dustproof, shockproof, all that sort of thing, but as I said, we'll test all that. IMEI info and Blackview down at the bottom. So yeah, there's not a lot going on, but it does have the little bumpers on the side and stuff to prevent it from dropping, but as I said, we will test all of that. So I guess the real question with this is, does it work? Well, we'll power it on and see what happens. Okay. Alright. And see, just at the top there, you got your earpiece and front-facing camera. Also at the top of the device, you'll find a notification LED as well. No physical buttons, no nothing. Pretty reasonable size screen as well. No sound. Maybe it doesn't have sound? Maybe? No, there's the volume. So what's wrong with it? What's open on it? So an APN menu is there. So possibly someone couldn't get network on here. That could be what's wrong with it, but oh, there's a tool bag on here. Okay, fair enough. Let's go ahead and put a SIM in it. For the SIM card, I'm going to put an Optus one in here, because Optus seems to be really finicky with a lot of phones. That's from my testing experience anyways. No service. Yes, Optus. Okay. Do we have APN? Mobile data is off. Well, we can turn that on for sure. APN. Yep, APN's there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Oh, Jesus, okay. Earpiece works. Sounds good. Microphone. Yep, that works too. What's wrong with it? So I do have a Telstra SIM currently installed in the phone. I'm going to call it, send it a text, just to show you guys that it does work on Telstra. If you're in Australia and you are going to buy this phone, I just want to make sure that it does work. The only thing is I can't test data though, because I don't have any credit on the actual prepaid SIM. But I think it should be fine. Does it work? I think it does. Seems to be. Yep. Also, the access point names within settings is all filled out with Telstra. So I don't think that would be an issue. I still have no idea what is wrong with this phone. I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with it, to be fairly honest. And just to confirm with the dual SIM configuration, you can have two SIMs in here, both running at full 4G. Some phones out there that still have dual SIM only do 4G and the other slot is 2G only, but this one has both working at 4G, so both are on standby. So if you are using this as a work phone, you could have one as a personal SIM and the other one as a work SIM. So that works out very well. Well, they said it may be functioning. Well, it seems to be functioning, but yeah, there's the golf club on there. It's a sophisticated one, but you know, it is what it is. So it's been quite a while since I've done the initial unboxing, but I have had time to play around with the phone, test it out, do the camera test and all that sort of thing. So the initial impressions of the device for me, it seems to be running pretty much stock Android 9, with the usual Android apps installed, and we'll go through them as well. Now, I have performed a standby test already. I had this on standby for about 90 hours or so. Maybe 92 hours, just to be a little bit more precise. And the battery dropped to about 42%, which isn't bad. It's got a 4400 mAh battery, which is a fairly big battery, and with a phone that doesn't have flagship specifications, it's obviously going to last a while. But with the standby tests on Blackview's website saying 480 hours standby, I think they mean like without Wi-Fi or without anything on, just as it is. It could last maybe a week, but I think 480 hours is just a little bit much. The general functionality of the phone to me so far, it's not the smoothest and it's not the fastest experience you'll ever have on a device, but if you're looking for a cheap, rugged smartphone, this is probably going to be something that you'd want, but however, the network support is very limited, so it's only going to work pretty much, as it said on the site, in Europe and Asia and stuff. But we do have Android Pie running on this, and it seems to work fairly well, minus the obvious lag here and there, but it works well enough. The apps installed, as I said, are all fairly basic. I've gone ahead and installed a bunch of apps and stuff that we will get to. But you've got clock, music, sound recorder, calendar, camera, emergency alerts, calculator, files, FM radio, SIM toolkit, notes, files, and a tool bag. And then a bunch of my apps, we'll just ignore them. But in the tool bag, you've actually got compass, sound meter, pick hanging, gradienter, height measure, magnifier, protractor, and plumb bob. I don't know what a plumb bob is, but I have a feeling it's got to do with plumbing. So, the compass, if we... hang on. Why is that not working? Wave the phone in a figure 8 motion to calibrate. I feel like an idiot. Oh, that's not the way I'm supposed to be doing it. There we go. I think it's found the North Pole. Yeah, it works. Alright, the sound meter. Ah. Yeah, it works. Ah, it's harmful noise. That's fun. I remember an old Nokia actually doing that. I can't remember exactly which one it was. It was an old, I think it just had a monochrome display. But yeah, I had fun just yelling into it and watching the sound meter go. Whee! That was fun. Pick hanging. Oh, this is a, yeah, alright, I gotcha. I mean, I don't have any pictures to hang up, but I'd say they'd be fairly precise. Gradienter? What is gradienter? Obviously, tradespeople and stuff probably know what's going on. I don't really know what's going on apart from the whole get the blue ball into the red area, and I've done that right about now, so I've won. I've won the game. What do I get? Okay, in all seriousness though, yeah, all of this stuff is going to be perfect for tradespeople and all that sort of thing, but yeah, as I said, I'm just not quite the greatest at telling you exactly what's going on. First, input your height. Okay, well, we'll just start measure. 180 something. I'm 180 something. Let's do 183 because it sounds fine. I'm looking at the Eiffel Tower. Or I'm not looking at the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, okay. I'm sure you will know what's going on with that one too. I probably should have read the instructions, but that's alright. Magnifier. Oh, okay, so you get a magnifier. But I've got a unsupported micro SD card just here. And we'll just use our magnifier just here, like that. I mean, yeah, fairly close up, and no, nothing. But if I go back a little bit, the exposure's a bit wonky and stuff, but at least it does work. I'll try an old SIM card and see if I can see the numbers on it. Well, yeah, I can. If you had the right lighting and stuff, I'm sure it would be fine. But if we just sort of go for the normal magnification, that seems to work quite well. It is just the main sensor doing its thing, but I guess that would be handy for some, especially people that may have vision problems, you know? They can just hold this up to whatever and it pretty much magnifies everything quite well. Now you can just open up the camera app and do exactly the same thing, but this is a dedicated one, so you can zoom in and switch to the front camera, which actually has some magnification as well. Probably doesn't work as well as the rear one, but at least it's here. The protractor, I was using a protractor when I was in maths in school. Haven't used one since. Don't know what it does, but yeah, you do some angles and stuff. I'm pretty sure someone also would know what that's used for. And the last one is the plumb bob, which that's pretty cool. I'm sorry I don't know any of these, but I guess you just have that centered like so, and there you go. I have a feeling the calibration's a little bit off, but that's fine. At least you get the idea of what's going on. As I said, the apps are pretty much stock. You've got Chrome, you've got YouTube, you've got Gmail, you've got the Play Store, you've got everything that you need on here. You've also got two file managers, one's the Google one and one's the built-in default Android one, I suppose. But otherwise, it's not bogged down by a heavy user interface or anything like that. It's just a newer Android operating system running on pretty outdated and low-end hardware, that's all. But of course, I'm going to be doing gaming and all that sort of thing. I'm going to be doing it more from a consumer point of view if I would use this as a daily driver. But I'll also try and factor in if I was going to be using it as a tradesman, if I dropped it a bunch of times, if I got a hammer and smacked on the screen, all that sort of thing. I'll try and do my best through this. But I think what we'll do now is jump into settings, have a look through this, show the rest of the features and stuff, and we'll sort of just work our way through this. Mobile data is off. Now, I can't test mobile data on this SIM card because I don't have any data on it, but I'm sure that it should be fine. I've called this and I've sent this text messages on the Telstra network and it seems to be fine. Wi-Fi was both 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz, so that is all good. Obviously, in SIM cards, you can change them around and stuff. You can have dual SIMs or a micro SD card and a single nano SIM. In connected devices, we have Bluetooth and we have NFC. I will actually test the NFC and see where the location is. So I like to use this little NFC tag here to get a proper reading of where it would be. So it's actually on the sticker, just there. So that's the location of it. I thought it would have been up here, but there you go. You can read and write NFC tags on here as well, so that's pretty cool. In applications, I've got all the system ones showing. I'll just scroll through here. I don't think there's going to be anything suspicious on here because Blackview is fairly reputable, but let me know if you see anything down in the comments below. I'll just scroll through here pretty quickly. Just feel free to pause if you see anything. We've actually got quite a bit to look through, but as I said, if you want to let me know if there's anything here that may seem... Corner display cutout. We'll keep going. Double display cutout. Maybe it's for something that has a notch or something. I really don't know. But I'll just keep scrolling down. As I said, some of these things I've actually installed myself, like San Andreas just there. That's me. I did that. Minecraft, I did that too. It seems like most of the MediaTek stuff is on here. The usual stuff that we've seen on MediaTek devices anyways. Oh, we've got stress test. Wonder if we can somehow trigger that. System UI is Pi, of course. And, yeah, that'd be about it. Now, when we come to battery, it says about 1 day left. Now, as I said, the standby test for me was 90 hours or so, and it dropped to about 42%. It's probably not going to do 480 hours standby. It'll probably last about a week before needing a charge. But as I said, let's just round it up to 92 hours of just standby with a SIM card installed, with Wi-Fi on, with everything just as it is. And yeah, that's what it dropped to. But I think it should be fine. I think it should be fairly reasonable battery-wise. For a device that costs around $100 US, which is like $150, $160 Australian, or if you just want to buy the $30 unit that's on eBay Australia currently at the moment, then it's a good deal. But even so, at like $100 US, it's still a good deal. Especially if you want something that's going to be dropped and abused and stuff, which I actually forgot to mention. Display-wise, there is a raised lip going around the phone. It's a plastic one, but at least it's going to help when you drop it. You've actually got that lip there. And display-wise, for a 720p display, the text is quite legible, and I'll just go back to the main menu quickly. For some reason, there's a golf club. I don't know the meaning behind it, but sure thing, Blackview. And no, it actually looks quite reasonable. In display, we've got a couple of things here. What does nightlight do? Oh, okay, that's what nightlight does. I believe it was actually in the quick settings here. There's also something called Adobe Captivate. I wonder what that does. Oh, okay, so that records the screen. Okay, Adobe Captivate is a screen recorder. Didn't know that. You learn something new every day. In advanced, font size, display size, navigation bar, device theme. You can change it to dark if you want. You can change it to dark if you want. Maybe that's not supposed to work how I think it's supposed to work, but we'll just do automatic then. In wallpapers, we don't have a lot to choose from, but we've got the golf clubs, got a black sort of carbon fiber looking thing. We've got a pen there and a sort of crocodile skin background, I guess. Just a black one. They're all black, but they look nice. I'll stick with the golf clubs. I've come into sound. Usually I don't really go much into sound, but there's a few times that this phone has made noise, and I've went, I recognize that from somewhere, and I will show you. So, of course, in advanced, we will probably have the sound enhancements. No, just one. Okay, fair enough, best loudness. But we've got the touch vibration, touch sounds, charging sounds, all that sort of stuff. But if we come to default notification tone and we click default, does that sound familiar? I think it might, but I'm not too sure if any of these ones here are actually off an iPhone, but that one is definitely off an iPhone. I just quickly browsed through the phone ringtones and no, none of them have been pinched off iOS. It's only just that notification sound, that's it. But I thought I'd just show you because it was just interesting when I heard it. In storage, we have 16 gigabytes of storage. Not a lot. I mean, for the price, there are phones out there with 64 gigs of storage for the same price. However, you got to take into consideration this is a rugged phone meant for rugged use. It's probably not going to be used as a multimedia device per se, so I'll let it off the hook for that. We have memory cleanup as well, which obviously will just clean up the memory, clean up background processes and stuff. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. Security and location. We can do the face unlock. There is no fingerprint scanner on this because if you're going to be, a tradesperson using gloves or whatever, there's no point of having a fingerprint on there. But you can use face unlock, so we can go ahead and enroll my face and see how fast it is. We'll choose a pin. We'll choose a basic one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll do. Don't use 1, 2, 3, 4 as your pin. We'll go ahead and see what that does. Alright, so we'll start enroll. Yes. I don't think it's going to be anything special. It's just going to look at my face and go, yep, that's the person. Move the phone closer to your face. My mugshot's enrolled. Alright. Cool. Unlock screen. Yes. So locking it, looking at it. There we go. Okay, that was reasonable actually. Yeah. That's fine. Because I'm in a specific lighting setup, it doesn't work as well as it would probably out in the daytime. It doesn't have a secondary camera built in for specific face unlock functioning. So it just uses the front-facing camera, but it works just as well as you'd hope. In gesture settings, we've got a 3-finger screenshot, gesture motion, and smart motion. I'm fairly sure there is no gestures actually for the OS, and I will confirm that now. You can only use buttons, so no gestures. Double-click home lock screen. Double-click home lock screen is just in settings. Accounts, I've already added my Gmail. Accessibility, you've got the usual stuff, talkback and all that sort of thing. Display size, magnification, all that sort of thing. So yep, that all seems fairly good. Google services and preferences, Duraspeed as well, which does the same thing as the memory cleaner, I'm pretty sure of it. And finally, in system, languages and input, we've got the usual Gboard. Gestures, you can do couple there as well. Gestures are kind of scattered all over the place. And in About Phone, we've got all the details here saying that it is a BV5500 Pro. Front camera's 5 megapixel, 16 gigs internal storage, 8 megapixel main camera. We've got 3 gigs of RAM and the dual IMEIs, with the Android version being 9. Now, while testing this a few days ago, an update actually did come through. I think it was about 112 meg or something, with a couple of improvements to the OS. Still no Android 10, but at least an update came through. Blackview is still supporting their devices. Not sure for how long, but at least there is some support there. We'll just test the torch quickly. That's a fairly reasonable torch. It's not the brightest one ever, and there's no dedicated torch built onto this. And if you were in the middle of nowhere with this, you'd probably be able to see your way, but you wouldn't be able to see too far though. So I'm going to jump into camera. Now, as I said, I've already done the camera test, and the shots look reasonable, for what it is on this device anyways. But it's fairly basic. You've got a reasonably boring layout. We've got an option for mono, video, picture, bokeh, and night, and then you've also got a pro mode all the way at the end. If you want to use pro, I just use automatic, that's fine. There's no beauty mode, nothing like that. It's bare bones. Normal pictures, focusing, video, all that sort of stuff. Seems reasonable. When I got to the bokeh though, now it's really hard to see it here, so I'll bump it up to 80, like so. And you'll see it in the photos I took, but the bokeh mode is just the blurred circle. That's all it is. It doesn't actually do true depth effects / bokeh effects. It's this same blurred circle that we've seen on, Urkatel, Doogee, probably a couple of other devices as well. Umidigi and the S5 Pro had this exact same thing. Usually what it is just they throw in a secondary camera just to say they've got a secondary camera in there, but as to what it does, who really knows? But if I took that secondary camera out, this blurred effect would still be present. And I'm yet to find out what those actual secondary cameras do. As far as we have seen, they just basically act as something to say, hey, don't cover the lenses while shooting or something like that. But once I tear this down, we'll see what's going on, if it survives. And video is 1080p with EIS, and the front camera is 720p, and you can have EIS on with that as well, which seemed to work. Another thing I noticed during the video test was the sound is incredibly low. I had to bump it up considerably during editing so you could at least hear it. And also, you may have heard, while I was doing the video test with the rear camera, there's points where you can actually hear clicking. That's the focus mechanism on the camera focusing. So it can be a bit annoying if you're just wanting to film something and you've got click, 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 click happening in the background, but yeah, that's just the focus mechanism on the camera. I'll go ahead and show you the photos and videos now, and we'll continue on.
Testing video quality on the Blackview BV5500 Pro. It is definitely a mouthful of a name to say every time, but this is 1080p with EIS on, and we have autofocus as well. And I can tap the screen to focus manually, but otherwise it's doing a fairly good job as it is. It is very, very sunny today and quite warm, so all the flowers are out on display. They don't look half bad, so you can kind of see my shadow, but just panning along the brick wall, like so, and coming down to Stewart as well. It's hard to see the screen, but I think it looks okay. Just waving the phone around a little bit so you can see the stabilization. No bees today, just a bunch of flies hanging around. Otherwise, there's only these lemons, and those bright yellow flowers are closed. I don't know how flowers work. And the 4x digital zoom for the faraway aircon, like so. You can focus onto it, and that's what it looks like accordingly. I think it's focusing. It should do. The front video quality on the BV5500 Pro is only 720p. It supposedly has EIS. Yeah, I would say so. Does it have autofocus? No, it doesn't. There's no beauty mode or anything, it's just bare bones, but this is what it looks like. There's the sky. There's a brick wall. There's me.
Alright, you've seen the photos and videos. As I said, they're not bad for what this is anyways. Night shots seem to be fairly useless, unless of course you use the flash, which kind of defeats the purpose of a night mode, but it's definitely going to be no night sight or anything that you see on a Google Pixel. It is supposed to be a Sony sensor that's in here. From looking at these photos, I'd say that's about correct. Froggo 1 here has some pretty good detail in him, and the colours are pretty accurate for what they are. And then jumping into the second Froggo with a bit more colour, the greens really pop, but it starts to get a little bit washed out once there's a lot more detail going on. It's not meant to have a flagship camera or anything in it, but I just thought I'd point out, you know, what's going on. Now here's a bokeh shot with Froggo 3. Froggo 3 in the center looks good, but the rest of it's all blurry because it's just the blurred circle. And you can see this more prominently in this picture here that I took of Stuart. You can see that it blurs around Stuart, but there's that circle, because that is where it locks onto. It doesn't lock anywhere else. It doesn't use that secondary camera to capture a proper sense of depth. It just puts the blurred circle there and goes, that's depth, that's bokeh. So that's what you're going to get. Otherwise, the front camera, no complaints here. It's a fairly standard selfie camera and does take some reasonable shots. I accidentally took a photo of the sky while walking back inside. I think it actually looks quite nice. This was done with the front camera too. But of course, once I get to the teardown, I want to have a look at that secondary camera, and we'll just play around with it and see what it does. One thing I just want to check also is the FM radio. I've got to plug in headphones to actually use them, so I'll just plug in some rando ones that I've got here. Did this actually come with headphones? I don't know, or earphones? Yep, it works. Call me old school, but I do miss FM radio on devices nowadays. And now in terms of the audio, I'll go ahead and do the speaker test, because the speaker actually sounds quite decent in this. So of course I have Mick Gordon's BFG Division in FLAC format, so it'll sound as good as it can be. I have my sound meter here, so I'll go ahead, play it at full ball, and we'll see what we get to. 106.4 we got up to. It is a fairly loud speaker, but it is also not the best speaker in the world. Very muffled, very distorted, but if we sort of bumped it down to about halfway, it probably wouldn't sound too bad. Once again, I'll just say, it is a budget device. It's probably not meant to sound good, but it's reasonable. It will do. Now I may as well just do a browser and YouTube test as well. So opening up the browser brings you to Blackview's website. Bit slow, but it could be just my Wi-Fi slash the phone not having the best specs in the world. But we'll just go ahead and click on something random here. This has the thermal imaging camera, I believe, in it, which looks pretty cool. This phone would be probably something to have a look at on this channel one day. If it has the thermal camera, that'd be pretty fun to play around with. I think browsing would be fine if you're just here to quickly check up something, you know, go onto Google and say, hey, look, I want to see whatever. It'd be fine. There's no issues with that. But I think if you go into the more heavy side of things, because as I said, the phone's not exactly got flagship specs in it, but if you're just wanting to go for a quick Google, just search something up, you'll be fine, no worries. If you need to go onto a website to buy some tools or whatever, if you're a tradie or, you know, whatever, I think you'll be fine. In terms of YouTube though, I guess we'll go ahead and load up the standard 4K video, test that out and see how that goes. So automatically the quality is set to 720p at 60 FPS because we only have a 720p display. That is what it is capped at. Actually, it's running very well. I was expecting it to be a little bit laggy, but no, it actually seems to be running very well. That 60 FPS is definitely there. The colors are very vibrant. Just fill up the whole screen as well. There we go. Yeah, that looks quite nice. So in regards to that, YouTube is fine. I will also comment again on the display. It's actually very good for what it is. Probably one of the best 720p displays I've seen in a while, actually. Colors are very vibrant. Because it's IPS, you can basically look at it in any angle, and it should be fairly good. But no, YouTube seems fine. If you want to just open YouTube up, watch a video, it'll only be in 720p, of course, but it seems to be fine. No lag whatsoever. So now I guess we want to push the BV5500 Pro just to its limits. I've got Minecraft Trial, Call of Duty, and I've got San Andreas on here. I've upgraded from GTA 3 to San Andreas just because I wanted to see how it would go. So I'm going to start off with Minecraft first, and we'll see how this runs. Probably better than the welcome devices we've had a look at, because This is obviously better than a Wacom device, but I don't expect gaming to be super smooth. But we'll see, we'll see. Alright, just starting a game with everything on default. We'll see how it runs. First impressions. Bit laggy, which was to be expected. I don't think I actually mentioned the onboard GPU at the start of the video in this specs, but it's a PowerVR something. I don't think it's a Mali 400. Whoops. But depending on where you are in the game, obviously, it'll start to lag. But look, if you've got nothing in front of you, it's fairly smooth. But once you start seeing land and all that sort of thing, it does get a little bit laggy. Because this phone is primarily aimed at the more sort of rugged tradesman sort of market, you probably won't be doing a lot of gaming on here. But I just like to do gaming tests because, whoops, sorry. Because you just never know. It's always interesting to do gaming tests. Alright, well Minecraft seems to be fine, so I think we'll try San Andreas next. I will say the phone is getting very, very hot, right in that region there. I actually thought that I wouldn't be able to feel much of it because of the thick rubber casing on it, but no, I can feel it getting quite warm there. Alright, starting a new game. I left everything on default, so we'll see how it runs. Now, the first thing we want to do is not grab the bike. We want a car. We want to get in a car and see how it goes. Run, 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 run. Get it, get it, get it. We want the Tahoma. I think it's a Tahoma. We want buttons. Let's go buttons. I just had to turn the radio off because copyright. But we'll just go for a quick drive around Los Santos here. Bit laggy. Couple of dips here and there. Just hitting everything. Why not? Whoops. I could honestly see myself playing San Andreas on this. It's actually quite nice. While it's not set on the best graphics, it seems to be quite reasonable. And it's a nice change up from playing GTA 3, of course. So, yep. GTA San Andreas works fine. Now's the killer. Call of Duty. Go on. See how this runs. This could be just trickery or something like that, but while covering the bottom speaker, I can actually hear sound through the earpiece. I'll just hold it up to the mic. So that's the earpiece. Actually, come to think of it, I think the sound is just travelling to the top of the phone. That's all it is. Still, let's just pretend it has dual speakers. So the graphics are on the lowest setting, and first impressions, seems okay. Fucking I shot 10 bullets into him and he's not dead. Now he's dead. Nut shot. Bit laggy, unfortunately. Well, I guess that's to be expected. I'm terrible at this, I'm really, really sorry. See, I'm just shooting randomly. I don't even know who I'm supposed to be killing. Green! Green, what's your problem, Green? I'm not going to be smashing any keyboards, but I just died. Call of Duty was a bit of a test, just to see how this would handle. It does play, but it's pretty laggy. We're all up for the gaming test, it does work, and I suppose if you are on a job and you just want to fire up a quick game of Call of Duty, it'll be fine. It'll be fine, no problems. It'll just be on the lowest quality, but who really cares? It's a 720p display, you're not going to be having it on the highest quality anyways. Well, I think we should try Geekbench. I've got Geekbench 5 on here, which I've ran on the Umidigi S5 Pro, the Redmi Note 8, and a couple of other phones that I can't quite remember. But if we accept, it comes up with the MT6739, Blackview BV5500 Pro. It's PowerVR Rogue GE8100, which I wasn't too sure of, but there you go, that's what it is. So I'll go ahead and run the benchmark. And while it's doing that, in the Blackview promotional video, they actually show this. Well, it survived. Nothing happened. The LCD got a little bit warped just then from the impact, but no, that's fine. I'll just do it again. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the most heaviest sort of hit that I could have given it, and when we get to the durability test, we'll see what happens. But I'll just leave this run. And the results are in 105 for single core and 355 for the multi-core score. I think this may be the lowest score I've received from Geekbench 5 on a brand name phone per se. I'll display a bunch of other scores here, like the Umidigi Power 3, that Doogee I tested that I can't remember the model name of, and whatever else I can find here as well. But otherwise, pretty much for this test, the higher the numbers, the better. Obviously, as you've seen before, the Yuma DigiPower 3 scored a lot more. I wasn't expecting too much, considering we have a fairly low-powered quad-core MediaTek processor. Even though it does have 3 gigs of RAM, it's still not really benefiting from much anyways, but yeah, there you go. Lastly, we'll just open up DeviceInfoHW and just go through the specifications. We can see basically everything here, the NFC, charger, lens, gyroscope, all that sort of good stuff just there. More details on the system on chip, like the frequency, the cores, all that sort of thing. Details on the system just there as well. So it says it's got a fingerprint sensor. So maybe it's got a connector on the motherboard and it's just unused because this model doesn't have a fingerprint sensor. That could be the case, but it does recognize that one is supposed to be there. RAM is 3 gig and the internal storage is 16 gig. And in cameras, we can see the back one is 8 megapixels and the front one is 5 megapixels, which is correct, but the second one does not show. So I have a feeling that second one is going to be a dud in the end, but you never know. Battery wise, 4400 mAh as we already know. And these sensors, you can see the little green dots, that means that we've got all of them. We don't have a barometer installed, but we've got a gyroscope, magnetometer, proximity, light and accelerometer. I've just quickly chucked Antutu on here, just so I can test the multi-touch. I know there's probably a easier way to do it, but I just prefer to have Antutu on here. Only 5 point, unfortunately. That's okay. So at this point in time, I've basically tested everything that I need to. I've done camera tests, I've done speaker tests, I've done YouTube, gaming, went through the settings, went through the features and everything like that. But I'm not going to give it a conclusion just yet because there's one vital test that we need to do, and that is the durability test. So I'm going to go set up my camera and we're going to do a couple of things with this. So I guess the first thing I want to do is drown it in the sink. And I think that's the first thing we can do. That's probably too much, but that's fine. Now, in the past, I've only ever drowned one phone, and that was a Galaxy X cover. And I just got it for parts, I put it all together, and I just tested to see if it was fine in water, and it was fine. Now, with this test, it is only fitting that I drown this while it plays BFG Division. And just making sure all the covers closed, everything is all good, ready to roll. It's still working. I've had it in here for a couple of minutes now, and the speaker sounds to be dying on it. Still works. Yeah, I think the speaker's dead. Drop test from the waist, screen down. All good still. Waist high from the back. Still fine. Basically about a 7.5 foot drop, screen down. It rebooted. Fair enough. It is still fine, so I'm going to do that exact same test again. Screen down. And it's dead. It put up a good fight. Touch still works though. It was only after I gave it a pretty heavy hit that it finally died. But it still works, so if you did drop it reasonably hard like I did, to be honest, I threw it. Yeah, the glass is pretty much a pretty weak point on this. And that was just dropped on tiles as well. There is a part in a Blackview video where they're dropping it over and over again, and they're like, it's fine. And it did survive a couple of drops before, as I said, I threw it, and then that was it. But drowning it in water, it survived, but the speaker sounds like, oh, it's come back. It's still a little bit muffled, but it's sort of came back to how it was. Obviously, I'm not going to do any more tests with it, because I think you got the rough idea of what's going on. The impact point was both there, and obviously there, so it just went boop, and that was it. It's going to survive drops, no problems at all. It's going to survive being in water, that's fine. Obviously, if you abuse it a lot, like any other piece of tech, it's going to end up like this. The screen protector's now lifting off it, so that did a fairly good job, I suppose. Yeah, there's just Glass shards everywhere. I'll just leave that on. Actually, no, that's not going to stay on now. I'll just take it off. There we go. I left the screen protector on for a reason. I guess you can see why. Nice big ding in it just right there from where I kind of threw it. There's just this nice big hole right there. So it's not waterproof anymore. Unfortunately, there's just glass everywhere. I probably shouldn't have done that actually. I'll just get the bigger shards and throw them out. Well, now I guess we should pull it apart, and by the looks of it, it seems like the screen has to come off before I can go any further. And my glass is kind of cracked. So taking this off in one piece and letting it still be alive is going to be quite the challenge. So that's the first thing that's going to be damaged if you do drop this phone. So a screen replacement is probably going to be cheap off AliExpress or something, maybe $20. Is it really worth it for a budget phone like this? It'd be easier just to get another phone, I'd say, but I'll try my best. I'm going to try get it apart. I'll chuck some gloves on, get a heat gun out, and see how we go. Now, I would usually do the teardown with the phone completely off, but I just wanted to show what happens to the screen once you heat it up. I mean, we all know what happens to LCDs once we heat them up, but I just wanted to show you what it will look like. There we go. So I've heated it up long enough that this will happen on the screen because it's really, really hot. The pixels will burn out and they'll slowly recover. I may have permanently damaged it, but it's not like the phone's already damaged as it is. It hasn't fully recovered. There's still bits and pieces here and there, but it's recovered for the most part. I have a feeling getting this screen off in one piece is going to be almost impossible at this point in time. Every single bit of it is cracked. I don't think it's going to survive. Alright, well, I've performed a factory reset on it. I'll see if I can get it apart. It's still alive. Still. The thing is, I don't know where the ribbon cable is for the screen. I don't know if it's at the top or if it's at the bottom. You know, I'm kind of surprised I even got to this point in time. I actually, I did it. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. Maybe. Ta-da!
Cancel button.
Does
Talkback tutorial. Item 4.
Does it actually
Double
still
tap
work?
to activate.
I think it still works.
Alert power off. Power button.
Huh.
Alert power off.
That was unexpected. Okay, so taking the first screw off here, holding the display in place, which still works, which is amazing actually. We just missed the cables going into the screen there. I honestly thought it was going to be goodbye for it, but I can salvage it, which is good. It's missing half of its glass, but that's okay. The screen is manufactured by Holotech. I've never heard of them before, but they've obviously done a good job. I still haven't got all the shards of glass out, but I think I've got majority of them, and I may have stabbed myself in the process, but that's okay. Probably helpful if I remove the SIM tray. There are 12 screws that hold this metal frame to the body. Also like how Blackview puts a little sticker in there, a little holographic sticker to say that it's original. It's good of them. Now when all the screws are removed, this mid plate is held into place quite tight actually. There we go. Something just sort of bounced away, but that's okay. I don't think we need that. We've got the earpiece just at the top there, and that's just a little guy in there. Now we get access to the internals of the phone. I'll disconnect the battery and the subboard, and I should be able to use these little silver pull tabs here to pull the battery out. Yep, there is our 4400 milliamp hour battery, and I'll just stick the tape down, and it's good as new. Now I just want to make it clear as well that the actual rear of the phone is absolutely built like a tank. It is just a solid chunk of plastic here, which is very impressive for what it is, and that's what adds to the durability of it, but unfortunately the glass is the weakest point of it, and that's the first to go. The large NFC pad is just stuck to the back of the phone, like so, and that communicates with the motherboard just under here, which we'll get to soon. There's a small ribbon just here, which we can disconnect. Lifting out the charger board is fairly easy, just comes out like so. You've got your micro USB on there, as well as these gold contacts that communicate with the rear speaker. That little flex ribbon is actually for the microphone, and the loudspeaker has this large rubber gasket going around the opening just there for the water protection. And then looking inside to see the mesh, or more so like a plastic layering just there to protect water and dust and all that from getting in. And there is no mesh on that speaker just there, it is all exposed, so that's probably why the speaker got a bit distorted, because there's probably water still in there. It's because the water can easily get in there because it's just all exposed. I'm actually surprised to see that there is no remnants of water in here, as far as I can see anyways. So that's actually pretty good. If you plan on taking apart this phone, I would probably suggest that you keep all the screws organized. I haven't done so, and a lot of the screws are actually different sizes. Finally, I can lift the motherboard out of the plastic frame, and it should just wiggle out like so. The side buttons are still attached, and there we go. It all comes out like so. We can see the flash is just a little PCB, just stuck down like that. We've got a couple of contacts for the antenna. The vibration motor just sits in there like so, and we've got the contacts for the NFC pad just there. I'd love to see Jerry Rig Everything do a durability test on this one, but I think it would pass because that's not going to bend. I mean, like, it will bend like that, but, you know, with everything in place, as I said, I think the glass is the first thing that's going to go on it. Now, the motherboard itself is only just this little one here. I can go ahead and remove the plastics, but then the volume keys are still attached to the board. The motherboard's obviously not meant to be taken out, but we can get a look at the camera hardware. The front camera's code has JCM728 on it. It does not have OIS, but as I said, after the camera test, this actually does make a clicking noise when focusing, and you can actually sort of toggle that. The secondary camera, which is the depth sensor, has JCM729DK008. I believe I've seen this in the Doogee phone. Pulling the lens off the sensor proves that there is actually not a secondary camera in this phone. It is just a blank PCB. I can't make this stuff up. So the lens cover on it has a little tiny area to make it look like it's a real camera, but in fact it's actually nothing. As I mentioned during the review, this would probably just act as a bridge or something like that, just to say we've got a secondary camera installed, but in fact it's actually nothing. I will contact Blackview about this and say what's the deal with saying that it has dual rear cameras when it actually doesn't. And you can't call a flex ribbon with no sensor on it a camera. That doesn't count. But that is actually very interesting. So I'm going to just go ahead and install that back in the phone like so, and we'll see if it does work. And the front camera is just this one here, and the code on it is either WX660 or WY660. And just another thing as well, there's all these little rubber gaskets around the flex connectors as well to help with keeping the phone alive if any water does get into the phone. And there is also what I said during the review, there is a connector just there that's unused and it says finger. So that would be where a fingerprint would be installed right there, and it'd probably just sit on the back. So there you go. Very interesting. But I think I know what's going on here at this point in time. I know that the secondary camera is a dud, but at least I've got to see what the secondary camera is made of wherever I put the, there it is there, the secondary camera. Alright, I'll go ahead and reassemble this and we'll conclude this video. Alright, after painstakingly putting it back together, the screen is not glued on. I've just laid it down. We'll see if it still turns on. That's amazing. So even with an absolutely obliterated touchscreen, it still works. Obviously the bokeh mode still comes up exactly the same, even though the camera is now a bare flex ribbon, just like that. The actual lens is over there. Anyways, I think we should conclude this review down. I've done everything I've needed to do. I've done the teardown, done the durability test, I've tested the features and everything. I think I'll say, for a budget rugged device, that's pretty reasonable. I mean, for what I paid for it, it's a bargain. If you're buying it for about $100 US or so, it's not too bad for a work phone. The specs aren't the greatest, but for $100 US, you're sort of trading specs for the durability. Like, the back of it is really solid, but obviously the glass is glass, and glass will break if it's dropped. Well, enough times anyways. You've got Android 9 on here, which is fine for the device with app compatibility. Obviously, due to the specs, it's not the greatest experience. It's not very, very snappy, but it is good that it is pretty much stock Android anyways. It's just the launcher is different, that's it. The features I appreciate on this, like NFC, the built-in tool bag, the gyroscope, the headphone jack, and the actual display itself, which to me is probably one of the better 720p displays I've seen on a device for a while. As I've already mentioned with the cameras, the rear camera does take some good shots, the front one does too, but the fact that second camera, it's just a complete dud. I'd like to know why Blackview does advertise it. In some spec sheets, they show just 5 megapixel plus 8 megapixel, but then in some places they do show that it has dual 8 megapixel ones. So it is a bit sort of touch and go when it comes to that sort of thing. It is advertising, but we're led to believe that there is a second camera on the back that actually doesn't do anything whatsoever. Like that space that's used up for that dud camera, they could have put like another LED in there so then you could have a much brighter torch. That might be helpful for, you know, tradespeople and all that sort of thing. That would be really good. Or just put an actual depth sensor in there. Even though they're pretty much useless, at least it's better than having a complete dud in there. The network was fine, call quality is great, but the band's not being compatible in some areas around the world sort of puts it into a much smaller market. But dual 4G, so you can have one SIM as your work one as your personal one if you wanted to do that, that's fine. And I had no issues with 4G signal strength or anything like that. The battery will be fine, but just not at the advertised test that Blackview says on their website, like the 480 hour standby. Just for advertisement. Micro USB and the speaker are probably some downsides. And the durability, once again, the rear is sturdy, but the screen is obviously the weakest point, and look what happened to it. If you can find it cheap, it's rugged, it will go for a swim. If you want to use this for more than just your work phone, then you might want to consider looking at another phone. Something from Xiaomi might be a better option. But if you are strictly for the durability and the IP68 certification, you might want to look into this. First phone from Blackview for $30 Australian, quite reasonable, but for the regular retail price, it's going to appeal to some people, but it is for the people who want a rugged and durable phone on the cheap. I would like to actually take a look at Blackview's other phones, you know, later down the track. But this was just a start. As I said, I seen this on eBay for $30. I didn't think I'd get anything, and I did. I've got to have a look at it. While everything's not perfect with it and the whole dud camera situation, it's still a reasonable phone for what it is. Absolutely, for 100 US, which I never converted the 100 US to Australian, so that's my bad there. All in all though, I had fun with this, doing the durability test and all that sort of thing. Got to throw a phone around and got to drown a phone. You know, I don't really do that very often. I don't really do that at all, but at least I've got to do that. You've got to see it, and it's sort of up to you now as the consumer and the audience. If you are after a rugged device and, you know, you're looking for something cheap, hey, feel free. If you do want to purchase this, I will put some links in the description below for you to have a look at. I'll also put the eBay links in the description below so you can have a look at it to make sure that I wasn't bullshitting or anything like that. And all those links in the description are not affiliate links or anything. There's no catch to any of those links. You can click them, you don't have to, you can just go into Google, search for them, but none of them are affiliate links, so you're all good in that department. I think I've covered everything I need to cover for the Blackview BV5500 Pro. If I have left anything out, or if you need clarification on anything, please let me know down in the comments, and if you do own a BV5500 Pro, let me know how it's been for you, and if you found it to be a decent phone. Thank you very much for watching this review, even if you didn't watch it all. Thank you very much for at least getting to this point in time. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate the support with the channel, of course. And we've also just hit 28,000 subs, which is amazing. Really, really good. I honestly didn't think we'd get past sort of 10k. I didn't think we'd get past 1k even, you know, but we have. Here we are. And if I had a fancy drink, I would say cheers to the next however many subs. I'm going to leave it here. Thanks so much once again. As always, be good people, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. I guess I could just put this back in the box and say that it's brand new in box. It works, everything works. Brand new, it's fine. I wonder if Blackview will give me a warranty on it. Yeah, I could ask. If you like this content, feel free to leave a like or a dislike if you didn't. Thanks heaps for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.